Hello, my name is Amy Lemire, and I would like to share an idea with you. And this idea is, what is the one thing that you can control right now that could literally change your outlook, your achieving your goals, your joy in your journey, and let's just say your life? This is something that I will refer to as your thought habits. Now, before I get started into this, I'm sure you're probably asking right now, what does this person know about thought habits? And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background with this. So, in January 2018, I was invited to go to this evening with a lot of women. I heard it was high-powered leadership evening and didn't really know a lot about it. A friend of a friend had invited me. And once I went to this evening, I remember driving there. It was a Friday night, and it was, let's just say it had been a long week. I wasn't happy, I wasn't sad, but I just felt like something was missing in my life. So I went to this evening, and the short story is I decided to make an investment in myself, and I took this course called the Thought Habit Finder. Now, once I went through the course, a lot of things opened up for me that I'm going to share with you during my talk. But the most important thing that I realized is that I was living my life in a lot of different patterns that were not serving just me, but my long-term happiness. In this unique time we're in right now, I'm going to share some of these ideas with you tonight that can help shift you from where you are right now to where you want to be, and most importantly, getting some of those thought habits out of the way. Now, the Thought Habit Finder is actually an assessment that you can take. It's similar to a DISC profile, a Myers-Briggs, and it will actually tell you 6 key thought habits in your life. Where do you show up? So those 6 thought habits are 2 categories. The first category is your inner world, and that is a reflection of my self-esteem, my joy or frustration with my life, and also my dreams. Do I feel like my dreams are within my reach, or are they way out of my reach? The next area is your outer world. Now, your outer world is a reflection of, what do you think about people? What do you think about the work you're doing? And how do you handle structure? Self-discipline is an example of that. So when I took this assessment, what I found out about myself is I had, let's just say, a lot of sabotaging thought habits. Some of the thought habits that I'd invite you to take a look at, and I'm going to show you my diagram in a moment, is, do you live your life out of obligation? How many times a day do you say, I have to, I should, I must, instead of I choose to, I get to, and I want to? And also, another thing I'd like to ask you right now is, how many expectations do you have in your life? Like, I should be this much further along in my career. I should have this much money in my bank account. I should be living in a world where there's no pandemic. Expectations are when we put something up really high on a pedestal and we're constantly trying to reach it, and it's usually something that's not attainable. So it leads to some self-sabotage and some self-judgment when we can't get there. The third way that we can damage our thoughts and the thought habit process is by something else that I will also call comparison. Comparison is when I compare the worst version of myself to the best version of somebody else. Now, I'm bringing up these 3 thought habits because these are some things that came out in the assessment that I took. Now, I was so excited about this assessment and the course I took that I decided I need to teach this to other people. It literally changed my life. It got me to leave a relationship that was no longer serving me, and quite honestly hadn't been serving me for several years. It got me to go out on my own again as an entrepreneur speaker. It also got me to move from a town, Chicago, I lived in for 14 years. I wanted to be closer to my family in St. Louis, and it was time to make that big change. But I also have a great new relationship in my life. I got my best year ever when I was working as an employee, as a sales trainer in a corporation. I had my best income year that year. So there were a lot of huge manifestations that came just out of making some little shifts in my thought patterns. So again, what does this mean to you right now? Let's take a moment and talk about this. So I drew a picture. This is where I am right now. this is where I want to go. So let's just call today me, and then this is the future me. So what our thought habits do is they allow us to visualize what do we want in our life. So some examples I'll share with you. I just drew some symbols, but I want to have a wonderful relationship with a significant other where we travel, we enjoy each other's company, there's passion, there's emotional connection, and I feel like this person's my best friend. I also want happiness. I want to wake up each day feeling excited about the day. I don't want to feel like I have that backpack of bricks that is weighing down on me, which could be a job, a relationship, other things that just bring down our self-esteem. The next thing I put a little star here because like many of you, maybe you want to accomplish something. One of the things I want to accomplish is I want to write my 3rd book this year about my life story and some challenges I've been through in my life that I think could serve other women. The last thing is I have a dollar sign. This might be my income goals I have for myself. I love to travel. I also have a goal for how many clients I want to get this year, how many groups I want to work with, how many people do I want to teach about these thought habits. That all ties into my income goal. Seminars, workshops, things I want to attend, that ties into that goal. So I want to make a certain income this year. But what happens? We have all these great dreams, we have all these great goals, but what ends up happening is we are standing over here looking, and our thoughts can help us fantasize and visualize. But what can typically happen is we kind of do a U-turn. We start making excuses. We make excuses and stories and reasons why we can't have it, such as, I'm never going to meet anybody. I've been divorced before. I've tried that relationship thing. It just doesn't work for me. Or, you know what? I don't feel like being happy today. It's raining outside. I don't feel like getting out of bed. I'm just going to be in a bad mood. Or, I don't want to start that book. It's so hard to write books. It's going to take forever. And the last one might be, I don't feel like picking up the phone and making those cold calls today to those clients I want to reach out to. So what happens is we have all these great visions, and then our thought habits pull us backwards. So we want to break that cycle. How do we break that cycle? In my experience, there's typically 3 to 4 big things that hold us back. I've already shared some of them with you, but the biggest thing that holds us back, if I put an umbrella and a bow over this, it's our thought habits in the way that we choose our thought habits. Are those thought habits supporting our success to get over here, or are they sabotaging us? So there's some tips I want to remind all of you tonight, and that is this. Number 1, you have a choice. I know that sounds so simple, but how do you stop yourself from making these poor thought habits that pull us backwards? Well, one of the things I do is I remind myself I have a choice. I catch myself in the moments when I'm going into the self-sabotage. And I also have a coach. I have somebody I talk to. If I'm really feeling like I'm starting to get stuck and pulled backwards, I reach out to that person. How about you? Do you have an accountability partner? Do you have a coach? Do you have a mastermind? Do you have a network of people that are supporting you in being the best version of yourself? If not, this is a great time to think about investing in that. The second thing I think that can cause this sabotage and this unhealthy thought habit pattern is thinking about the past or the future. Now, the past, it's crazy. Think about it. There's nothing any of us can do to change the past. I mean, I wish I could. If I knew how to do it, I'd tell you how to do it. But how often do we stay stuck thinking about something that happened to us, relationship, job, decision we made? Maybe we were a victim of trauma or damaged trust in some sense or another. But what I invite you to do today is to think about those experiences as ways that they have shaped your character. Anything we've been through in our life, whether it's horrific, traumatic. I was almost killed by a drunk driver when I was 9 years old, believe it or not. I shouldn't be standing here right now. My family was told I was going to be blind, deaf, probably brain damaged, probably never walk again. Well, here I am now telling my story. So I've used that story as a way to be my inspiration to serve and teach and help other people get unstuck and find the joy in their life that they deserve to experience every day. I think the third way that we can also stop ourselves from these sabotaging thought habits is to be in a place of awareness. This awareness comes, I believe, from going through a curriculum, a training, a program, and understanding that our thought habits are always going to be there. It's up to us to control them. And if we don't get control of them, our life is continue to be crazy, stressful, and we get stuck on that cycle of obligation. So ask yourself that question: am I investing in myself to keep my thought habits on the right path? Now, whether you decide you'd like to work with me or somebody else, maybe it's a seminar, maybe it's a workshop, this is something I specialize in. And if it's something that you're interested in, or if there's one thing I've said tonight that you'd like to hear about more, please reach out to me. You can reach me at amy@aimwithamy.com. You can also go to my website, and that is aimwithamy.com. And that's where you can also take the assessment if you're interested in pursuing that. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the day, the week, the month, the year. And remember, the one thing you can control amidst the uncertainty in our world today is your thought habits. Thank you.
My name is Ruth Haskins, and I am the Power Play Lady of the Power Play Reconnect experience. I'm so glad to have this time with you today. We are living in an unprecedented time in human history. It's an epic moment. And yet, I don't feel, honestly and truthfully, that this is a time really to hold our heads down. Now is a time to look up, get a sort of a look above the clouds. And the clouds have been really everything that we're used to. We are so used to the world being the way it is, but for most of us, we have gotten lost in that world. So being pulled out of it has been a huge shock. We had to panic first because we didn't know what else to do. That not all of us, but many of us. We went through the great toilet tissue panic. And there were other panics, are we going to have enough food? What's going to happen? Is the whole world going to come to an end? Evidently, none of that has happened. The world is still spinning on its axis. The sun still rises and sets. The birds are still singing. The ocean is still moving. The tide is still engineered by the movement of the moon and the gravity of the earth. So the only thing that's out of place are human beings. We are suddenly out of sync with the world that we knew, and we're suddenly forced into a situation where we have to come to know the world that we are now thrust into. And the shock of it all has left some of us paralyzed. Others have learned something marvelous, which is why I'm the Power Play Lady of the Power Play Reconnect experience. I'm also an executive producer for Just Minding My Business Media and the owner of my own company, RCH VoiceWorks. In all of that, the most important word is play. Now, we all know that children play. We watch them play and we get a thrill out of watching them. And we say to ourselves, oh, I wish I could do that again. But we can. Play is not just for children. Play is something that's necessary for life. It's a tool for life. It's a God-given gift to all things. Even to the trees play, the birds play. All mammals, by the way, play, and humans are mammals. So therefore, we're supposed to play. And if you notice, even with mammals, the grown-ups, they play with the young. Why? Because that's how the young learn. Why do the young have to learn? Because they need to build strong bodies, they need to develop survival skills, and they need to develop social skills. Now, we are more developed, true, but play is for us in many ways the same thing. When animals play, they are doing things that some people call instinctive, and that's true, but it's instinct with a reason. And a lot of it has to do with all their survival skills. Humans need to play because it takes us almost in the same place: social skills, survival skills, and a fit body. But it goes one step further. And it's the step further that we all need right now. Some of us are moving back out into the world. Some of us are still sequestered at home, and it can be unnerving. Like I said, we've been jerked out of the world that we are so accustomed to. But now is the time to come into a special world, a world that you probably have neglected, we all have neglected for so, so long. The older we are, the longer we've neglected it. And that is the world of ourselves. And I'm not talking about the externals. I'm not talking about the house. Yes, we're going to organize, clean, rearrange. We're going to do all those things because everybody's doing it. You know, that was kind of like the first fortress of sanity, was clean house. But there's more to it than that. Right now, let me say this. When each of us is born, even at conception, it's my belief and the belief of many other people that we are given something like a blueprint of who we really are. But even from the womb, and certainly as soon as we're born, we are told who we are to be, what we are to do, how we can make everybody else happy, and the consequences of not fitting into this mold which is handed to us. And we are told to fit in. And we finally figure out very quickly that we can fit in or not fit in, and both have consequences. Not fitting in consequences come faster. Fitting in consequences don't come until later in life, if you're unfortunate. Right now, we are seeing the consequences of fitting in. We have been so programmed into the world that we live in that we've lost our individual selves. See, there's a part of us, each and every one of us, that's like a snowflake. Every snowflake, each one is unique. There are no two snowflakes that fall that are identical. We as human beings are like that. And because each one of us is unique, to fall into a pattern or a mold that fits everybody can't be right. There are some things that are right, and we know those because they are in harmony. We can feel the harmony of them. But because we've all been fit into this mold of following whatever the world out there tells us to do, we've lost track of what's really valuable. Sometimes in our own households, the relationships that we have, husband and wives, mothers, fathers, daughters, sisters, brothers, uncles, we've lost that. We've lost correct relationship with one another. And that's gone because we've lost proper relationship with ourselves. And this is not something that you're going to get out of a book, off the shelf, in a bookstore, or in the library. You can't even get this relationship with self from the internet. Now, you may get clues from all these places because there's been so much written about it over the period of time. But because of the society in which we live, most of that has been pushed aside. However, right now, there's a whole new movement of people becoming aware of who they really are, mostly because of the situation, this worldwide situation that we all find ourselves in. You can only do so much decluttering and painting and this, that, and the other before you finally get tired of it and you sit down and you have to ask yourself questions. And one of those questions may be like, how do I keep my sanity in this? How do I help my family members keep their sanity in all of this? People have found extraordinary ways. Some people have pulled out guitars that have been gathering dust for years. Some people are learning to play the violin. Some people are pulling out their baking sheets and they're baking like there's no tomorrow. This is what I suggest. Because play, again, I will say it, is a tool for life. When we play, we access that part of ourselves that we have forgotten about, that we pushed away because there were so many other important things to do. So that part of us was not important. We were totally into survival mode. All of a sudden, survival mode isn't there. It's survival in another way, but it's not the survival mode that we've been in on our day-to-day lives. We had to change directions. And all of a sudden, bottom line, we at some point in these months have had to face ourselves. Aha, self. And sometimes we don't know what it is. But that's why I say that this time is not a time to just be endured, but it is a blessing to be explored. And the exploration takes place inside of you. It is the most fascinating place that you will ever want to visit. Places and pieces of it you have missed for years. And I'm not talking about inner child work. It's my thought that inner child work came into being to actually lead us to this part of really getting to know who we are outside of everything that we've been told and molded into doing and being and becoming. There's a part of us that, you don't have to tell a tree what to do. A tree knows exactly what to do. You don't have to tell a bird what to do, when to fly, when to nest. You don't have to tell them that. You don't have to tell the ocean when to bring the tide in. Can you understand that there's a part of you, a part of each one of us, that has that same knowing? But that knowing that we had and lost as children, usually before the age of 10 or 12, that knowing is still there. Yes, it's at a higher level. Yes, there's more complications to it. But no, the knowing is the same. We know who we are. We just fight against it, or we ignore it, or we let other people tell us who we are supposed to be because it fits their paradigm. I'm suggesting that in these times, that we use this time as a blessing and rediscover who we are. And one of the ways we do that is through play. Play exposes us to ourselves in ways that we've forgotten. We may find a few character defects. We also may find a shining light inside of ourselves. It could be from baking, it could be from art, it could be from music, it could be because you love to tinker with cars, but you haven't been able to do it. So now is the time to do it. And when you do it, you will know when you get to a knowing about yourself, because you will feel this elation. You will feel the sense of feeling good. You may be tinkering with a car, you may be covered with oil, but inside of you, there's a sense of satisfaction. It's almost a glow. And if you keep repeating this pattern often enough, you will know it. You'll know when it's missing. And you'll know that you may have to make some decisions about the life that you've been leading. Play will take you to who you are, who you were when you were born, without anyone telling you, without any mold, without any direction. Most children know who they are at a very, very young age. I've met artists engineers, sculptors, who knew who they were, usually before the age of 7. And they had the guts to stick to their knowing in spite of everything everybody else told them. And these are the successful people. Success now is not about the bank account or the fancy cars or the fancy clothes or any of that. It's not. That is not necessarily success. Because you see, that type of success you can have and you can lose it in a second, in a New York second. But the success that I'm talking about, the success that play will lead you to, because it's coming from you, no one can take it from you. It will always be there. So I said enough. There's so much more I could say about the gift of play and the way that you can use it. One of my favorite suggestions is to make ugly art. It's fun. Get some, you don't have to do anything fancy. Get some reclaimed wood, sand it down, paint it with some white paint, and go to town. Get anything, throw it on there. If you don't like it, sand it down, paint it again, go for it. Play with colors, play with shapes. Play until you find some kind of joy in what you're doing. That's it. That's the key. That's the center of play, is that it brings you joy, real joy, so that when you walk away from it, you still have a glow. And that glow is not something external, it has nothing to do actually with what you were doing. It's something that has woken up inside of you. So again, this is not a time to hold our heads down. It's a time to lift up our heads, take a journey to the world inside, rediscover what's there, play full out, find your joy, find your passion, hold on to it, and then live it. I'm Ruth, the Power Play Lady of the Power Play Reconnect Experience. Please be well, stay well, enjoy. Let's play.
Hello everyone, this is Giselle Toner and I'm doing a little video for you so that I can give you some information about something that might truly help you. So, a lot of you know me as the yoga teacher, the life coach, the equine wisdom coach, and I am here to give you a brief little tutorial on something that I have been doing for many, many years, and I finally put a little name to it. I think it's going to help you a lot. It's the HEAL method, H-E-A-L, and each letter stands for something that I will go over right now. So in order for us to feel really good, we need to have an integration of mind and body and spirit. We need to have everything coming together. And unfortunately, a lot of us only have maybe one or two of those things working okay, and a lot of us don't even have all of them. So we're kind of broken, but this is going to help you a lot. Let me go through these letters for you. The H stands for hydrate. Hydration is extremely important, but not just hydrating. I want you to hydrate as soon as you wake up in the morning. And the reason for that is because our bodies are fighting the toxins and healing and regenerating all night long. And then when you wake up in the morning, when you drink water, it's going to start flushing out the toxins. Very important to do that. The other thing is that our brains are probably around 75 or maybe 85% water. When you drink water, it really helps with the clarity of your brain because it starts to give it the necessary hydration that it needs. Also, your heart and your lungs and your kidneys are mainly water. So you're really helping to flush everything out from just sleeping at night. Okay, and I have a couple of other things written down here, and I will go through them as I go through each of these letters. So you need to rehydrate your body after the sleep, okay? Also, it helps with your alertness, your brain function. You also have the repairing at night, as I said before, and this really helps to flush out all those toxins that have been accumulating. And it does really help with every other function of your body, mainly your digestive system and your elimination. So in the morning, it's important to eliminate everything that's been accumulating, okay? And this really helps that process to start going. So that is the H, number one, okay? The second one is E. So the E stands for exercise. And it stands for expansion. It stands for elongate. It stands for energize and empower. So the E is what you will do to start moving your body. All right? Exercise, energy. Also elongating and expanding, meaning opening up your chest, opening up your lungs, really being able to breathing in the life force. And that is critically important. So when you wake up in the morning, you do need to have some kind of a routine to open up your body, basically exercising to energize and to empower you. I love yoga. You can do anything you want, but I can tell you that yoga for me is the key. It is amazing. It's more than just a couple of stretches. It is a total science. And I really believe that if you start getting into it, you will absolutely love it. And I can tell you more about that if you want to. Yoga is my thing. But no matter what you do, you can get up and just do a little jogging, get up and move your body. Okay, you have to get the blood flow going. So that is super important. And also the expansion of the lungs. Open up your chest. Just like breathe in the air. So that is the E, okay? Exercise, elongate, and expand, and energize. So that was your E, okay? The A, appetite, okay? So your appetite is supremely important. Now, when I say appetite, I don't just mean grab any old food. No. We don't do that, okay? So you have to appropriately tend to your appetite. And that is special. That means you've got to make a plan for what you are going to be putting into your body when you wake up in the morning. And you don't just grab a greasy breakfast or grab a McMuffin or something worse. You need to put a plan into action for some solid, really wonderful, nutritious food that's going to start your body going in the right direction in the morning. Okay, so I have a total list of the foods that I can go over. I don't want to keep you too long, but simple things are really wonderful, like oatmeal. Oatmeal is wonderful. And flaxseed. If you're going a little further on into your day, you can do the soups and the salads, but adding nutritious things into them. Nothing that's going to be harmful. Stay away from the processed foods. So the A is for attending appropriately to your appetite. Okay, so that takes a little planning. Make sure that you do that. All right. And then the last one is the letter L. And that stands for list. Now, the list is super important. When you've hydrated, when you've exercised, when you have attended to your appetite, you need to make a list for your day. And the list does not have to be long. It could just be a couple of things that you need to get done that are important. Maybe one or two things. If you want to go a little further, that's fine, but don't overload yourself. But put things down that you know that you are definitely going to need to do to further your own evolving, whether it is just something temporary or whether it's something long term. You need to make that list. And I like to say, make the list with love. Okay. And that means you make this list so that you are feeling really good, even if it's something that you don't want to do, even if it's something that you are not looking forward to. It might be a terrible thing that you really don't want to do. But if you do it with love, meaning that you know that you've got control over that situation on how you're thinking of it, you will get it done. You will get it done. You'll be able to do it because it's done with love, it's done for yourself, and it's done for your own evolving and your own betterment. So just remember that. Do your list, but do it with love. So there you have it. You've got those 4 letters, HEAL. And if you start putting this into action, I can promise you that you are going to feel a difference in your body, in your mind, in your soul, and you're going to start feeling wonderful just from these 4 little letters. That's it, HEAL. So remember, everyone, please just keep your heart where it should be. And remember that you have power. You have a lot of power. You do not have to give your power away. This is all about getting more power. This is all about making sure that you stay on track, stay on course, no matter what's going on out there in the world. Doesn't matter. You are in control of your temple, and your temple is here. It's in yourself. It is your domain. You have control of that. Okay? Body, mind, spirit, connected. Everything is together. So I hope you enjoyed this. I really enjoyed giving it to you. There's a lot more to this, which I don't have the time to give you. If you want more, you could always get in touch with me. I'm Giselle Toner, GiselleToner.com. And remember, you need to stay strong and powerful. That's what this is all about. I love you all. Hope to see you again. Bye.
Hi, this is Darius, the Professor Wise, the Thought Provoker. Here we are, 2020. I can clearly remember December 2019. My family and I were really excited about a lot of milestone moments that were going to take place in the new year, in the year 2020. I heard a lot of people saying that this was the year of vision, and they had all these big dreams for things that were going to happen and they were going to do this year. And like most people, they started out the year with, New Year's resolutions and things of that nature. Just excited because it's a new year that we're ushering in. And everything started out pretty good until March hit. March hit and changed everything. We went into this worldwide pandemic. States were closing businesses. They were mandating that people stay at home and had these stay-at-home orders. And life just changed for everyone. People were losing their jobs. People were trying to figure out how they were going to eat. They were trying to figure out how they were going to pay their bills, because once they lost their job, money was an issue, food was an issue. We had all of these things that were going on. People were getting sick. People were dying. And then later on, as time goes on and this plot begins to unfold even more, we find ourselves in the middle of a huge racial conflict and issue in America. I know this all sounds like a sci-fi movie or something, and it's just something that we really could not see coming or believe that we're actually going through. But I wanted to share some things with you today just to get you to understand that there's always going to be something that happens in our life. We're always going to have situations that arise that we're going to have to deal with. And maybe, and hopefully, not much to this magnitude, but those things happen. And one of the things that I've began to really understand is that life is full of pop quizzes. Life is full of pop quizzes. It doesn't give you heads up sometimes on what's getting ready to happen. It doesn't say that, okay, on tomorrow or next Tuesday, we're going to go through this situation or you're going to have this happen. It just springs these things up on us, and we always have to prepare ourselves to be able to handle different situations. I believe that we are 100% responsible for our life. We are 100% responsible for what we do and what happens. Now, with that, it doesn't mean that we're responsible for what's going to happen. It doesn't mean that we're responsible for what happens to us, but we're responsible for how we respond to it. I began to live my life a few years ago by this principle. The principle is this: E plus R equals O. See, back in 2018, going to work, I was working as a software trainer, and I was in the midst, in my head, of building my own business. I was writing my first book, and I went to work, and that morning, it was a Monday morning, my boss said, "Darius, we're abolishing your position." It basically just laid me off on the spot right there. And I began at that point to really start to really live my life based on this equation. E plus R equals O. And the E is the event. The R is your response, and the O is the outcome. So regardless of the event, it's the event plus your response that equals the outcome. It's not just the event. Now, with that, we have to understand as well is that we are not always responsible or have anything to do with the event that happens. So we've had several events that have happened this year, several events that have been life-changing for most of us. But now we have to look at what is our response going to be. What is your personal response going to be to these events that have just transpired? That's what's really going to determine what the outcome is for you personally in your life. So we had an event, we have a pandemic. How are we responding? Are we going to follow the guidance of the scientists and the doctors that say, stay at home? And if you go out, wear a mask. Make sure you don't go into large crowds. Are we going to do those things and have that type of response so that we can get the outcome that we preferably won't get sick, that we won't be in a situation where we're in a hospital or we have to have emergency care or anything of that nature? See, the response is what's really important and not just the event. So moving forward, we have to make sure that we are controlling the response that we have. Now, I want you to also understand that when I say response, it's not the same as a reaction. A lot of times we react. That is a autopilot, what I would call an autopilot action. So when we react to something, basically what we're doing is our brain is saying, go back to something that happened similar. However we responded then, let's respond the same way now. So it doesn't take thinking. It doesn't require us to think about what is the outcome we ultimately want. So one thing I want to share with you, we're going to get through this. We're going to make it together. But personally, what we all have to be aware of is what is our response going to be to these events that are happening in our life, the events that are happening now, and any other events that happen in the future. See, we have to make sure that we are thinking in alignment with what it is that we want to see happen in our life. What type of results do we want? What type of conditions do we want to create for ourselves that we can live in? And doing that, we have to make sure that we are paying attention to the response. Here's something else that we need to do and we need to be aware of that really puts us in a better space. And that is understanding the most important conversations that we ever will have. And those conversations are the conversations that you have with yourself. What are you telling yourself? What are the stories, the mental stories that you're creating during this time? See, the story that you create right now is going to really have a huge effect on, after this is over, how we move forward. See, if I create the story that this is the worst time in my life and this was horrible, whenever I look back in the future, I look back on 2020, I will always feel those same feelings. I'll feel the feelings that come up when I think of something negatively. I'll feel the feelings of something that I create a fear of, and something that I create that is negative in connotation. I'm always going to have fear, anxiety, anger in my emotional state whenever I think about that. So also be careful of the story that you're telling yourself. This could be a reset for you. This could be a time when you can take this moment to really get to know who you are, understand who you are. What is it that you really want to do with your life? What is the gift that you have that you want to share with the world? Now is a moment where we can really take that time to develop that, understand what that is, and really go out to figure out how we can share that gift with the world. So be careful of what you're saying to yourself. Be aware of the conversations that you're having and the stories you're creating based on this time that we're in. There's always going to be tough times. There's always going to be things that happen that don't go the way that we want. But we have some tools. We have some ways that we can get through that. We don't have to be a victim. We can be the victor if we actually change how we're thinking about it, how we see it, how we envision what's going on, and we control the response, and we make sure that we do have a response that is going to get us the outcome that we desire. So we got to think about how we're responding. We got to think about how we're labeling these situations as well. Is this a negative situation? Yes, it's bad. It's something that none of us wanted. But mentally, we have to, again, change how we're looking at the actual event. See, if we want to have a harmonious life, if we want to create harmonious conditions, and we want to live in this harmony, then we also have to understand that we have to have a harmonious mindset. Our thoughts have to be harmonious. Our thoughts have to be, what is it that I can do? What part can I play in my own rescue? What is it that I am in control of that will allow me to have the outcomes that I want. And you have it in you. We all have the ability to think, which is our most precious gift. And those thoughts are real. Even if you have something in your mind that you think of and you visualize it in your head, that creates an outcome. So be careful of how you think about it. Just let's make sure that throughout all of this, we're always thinking positive. We're thinking that we're going to get through it. I believe in you. You have what it takes to really be great. You have greatness within you, as one of my mentors, Les Brown, always says. You have the ability to go out and change the world. You have the ability to create the conditions that you want to live your life in. You know, I believe if we can control our powerful and phenomenal mind, we can create the life of our dreams. I believe that we can create the conditions that, adhere to the lifestyle that we've always dreamed of. There's going to be some work. We can't avoid that. But if we think positively, if we pay attention to the conversations that we have with ourselves, if we are very aware and conscious of the responses that we have to whenever these events happen, we can create great things. I'm really excited about what the future holds. I know that you have some great things that you're going to bring to the table and gifts that you can share to the world. I'm excited to see them. I really want to encourage you to just not let this beat you down. Don't let these times be something that take you out of whatever that gift is that you need to share with the world. Do what you need to do to create the conditions and the lifestyle that you want. And you have that ability. So I want to thank you. I believe in you. I know that you have it. You have what it takes to be great. Just change how you're thinking about the situations if you're not getting the results and the outcomes that you want. So be phenomenal, guys. Go out here, make some great things happen, share some love with someone else, and always, always remember that you have the ability to create the conditions that you want to live in. Thanks. This is Darius, the Professor Wise, the Thought Provoker. And if you want to reach out, I can be reached at IamDariusWise.com. Be phenomenal.
Hey there, my name is Marnie Homer and I am from Tall Poppies Rising, and I'm coming to you from the beautiful Sunshine Coast in Queensland, Australia. Wow, what a year it's been, huh? And who would have thought at the end of last year, when we were preparing for a new decade, that this would happen? And I'm curious, how many of you imagined a completely different 2020? I know I certainly did. In fact, I can recall New Year's Eve last year. I was sitting out on the beach with my beautiful family close to midnight. We all stood around in a circle holding hands, because we could do that back then. And we each shared with the others our plans for 2020. Mine was to change the lives of millions. My 9-year-old girls was to give everybody hugs. And my 11-year-old sons was to create some income streams. I know, right? Luckily for me, I am still working towards my goals. However, the circumstances are a lot different, aren't they? I did not anticipate having to homeschool my kids for an extended period of time. I did not anticipate losing most of my clients in one foul swoop as their businesses shut down one by one. Nor did I anticipate that so much pain and hurt would rain down on so many. Many of you have suffered during these unusual and difficult times. Many of you have lost your jobs. Many of you have had your businesses shut down. Many of you have lost your incomes and are wondering just how you're going to continue to put food on the table. I hear you and I feel you. So many of you are unsure of your future. I mean, who knows what curveball will be thrown at us next, right? Like here in Australia, we've had the devastating bushfires followed by the pandemic. So many people are doing it hard now. My friends in America and around the world, well, it's been ridiculously tough for you. Not only have you had the pandemic, but now the world has exploded because of another matter. There is so much pain and suffering going on right now. It's actually downright scary, isn't it? Now, I do my best to not watch too much of it. I do not feel that it serves me to see the pain and suffering in the world. However, right now it's really quite hard to avoid, isn't it? I mean, it's everywhere. It's on TV, it's on social media, it's in conversations, it's in people's minds and hearts. It's global. And if you're not challenged by the pandemic, you may be challenged by riots, unrest, and racism. If you're not challenged by these things, then you may be challenged by income loss, security loss, or worse. There is so much destruction going on in the world right now. And none of us asked for this, and we certainly did not expect it. I had really high hopes for this year, and I still do, simply because of my strength and the mindset that I've built for myself. See, I found the way out, and I'm here today to help you do just the same thing, if you'll allow me to. So who am I exactly? Well, I'm a #1 international best-selling author in 3 categories and in 3 countries. Not only that, my book, Lockdown Took My Income, shot to #1 hot new release in the USA overnight. I am a successful businesswoman, having been in business for myself for over 23 years. And in that time, I have created 11 successful businesses from scratch. So I've had bricks and mortar, I've had service businesses, I've had online businesses and MLM businesses. I've had many successes, and yes, even some feedback moments along the way. I am a contributing writer to several online and print magazines, both in Australia and the United States. And I'm a motivational speaker. I'm also a wife and a mother of 2 of the most incredible children on the planet. And I'm a survivor and a thriver after abuse. I grew up in a low socioeconomic area where we didn't have a lot. My mother did her best raising us while my father worked nights. However, she suffered from deep depression and anxiety and lived in her own personal hell each and every day. And so it's only natural that I grew up with very little self-esteem, self-worth, or self-belief. My confidence and social skills were non-existent. And I was that kid in the schoolyard who was excessively bullied and beaten. I was that kid who was always chosen last for the opportunities. And I was that kid who was a complete outcast. I did not fit in, and I did not have the first idea on how to change that situation. So when I say I hear you, when I say I feel you, and when I say I know you, it's because I really do. I've been where you are. I've lived that life of abuse. I've perhaps felt the same pains that you feel. And does that mean, though, that we should spend our entire lives living here? I say no. The problem is, though, that like me for many years, you may not know the way out. I mean, we only know what we know, right? And we've been brought up and raised to believe that we are no good. We've been told by many people that we are not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough, too fat, too thin, too short, too tall. We can't do this, we can't do that. We'll never amount to anything. We've been pushed down, run down, shouted down, and even beaten down for years. Some of us have had this our entire lives. The trouble is, even though many of you would love a way out, you really have no idea how to find the way, do you? All of your fears hold you back. The fear of not being good enough, the fear of not being worthy, the fear of stepping out and being ridiculed, even the fear of what people will think, do, and say if you do anything other than what they consider normal. And what ends up happening is you settle. You settle for a mediocre life, one that you are never truly happy living. And even though you know in your heart and soul that you deserve so much more, even though deep down you are crying out for release, you stay right where you are because the fear of all these things absolutely paralyzes you. It stops you. It keeps you stuck on that same merry-go-round your entire life because you do not see any other way out. You feel ashamed of who you are, ashamed of the life you are living, ashamed of your past, your present, and doubtful about your future. You are afraid to reach out and ask for help because firstly, you do not know what help you need, and secondly, have no idea if anyone can even help you at all. The thing is, because you do not know the way, this is the only way you know. This is your normal. My friend, if 2020 has taught me anything, it's taught me that the old normal doesn't cut it anymore. It's taught me that we've all got to put ourselves in a position where we are stronger, smarter, more confident, and more certain. It's taught me that things can change in a heartbeat, and it's vital that we prepare ourselves to be able to tackle the challenges we face head on. 2020 has taught me we are all beautiful souls, no matter who, what, or where we are. We are all on this planet together, and we are all here to live the best lives we can. I mean, why else are we here if not to live extraordinary lives? Right now is the time for all of us to stop what we've been doing and start creating a new normal. I know that many of you will be feeling lost and unsure right now, and that's okay. That's to be expected. You currently do not know any better. There is better though, that I can assure you. And whether you choose to allow a better way in or whether you choose to stay where you are right now really is entirely up to you. No one can make you do anything you don't want to do. But I want you to take a moment though and ask yourself, are you happy where you are currently? Do you want to stay exactly where you are amongst all the pain and suffering? Do you want to sit in your comfort zone feeling miserable and wasting your life completely? Or do you want to stand up? Do you want to create a new normal for yourself and for your children and their children? Do you want to play a part in creating a different world, a new world, one that's full of love, one that's full of trust, compassion, joy, laughter, happiness, those melting moments, that friendship, all those really special things in life that we can all have the moment that we choose that. Now I can hear some of you saying it's easier said than done, and if you think that, you are right. I did not say this was going to be easy. I did not say this was going to be a walk in the park. You will be challenged. You will be tested. There will be a time that you just want to throw in the towel and quit. Lord knows I've had plenty of those moments. But the thing is, if you just stop in these moments and take a deep breath and look up, that's all it's going to take. Because when you look up, I'll be there with my hand outstretched, ready to take hold of yours. I'll be there to give you a hand up. My colleagues and all the incredible people involved in this project will be here to give you a hand up. We're all here to walk alongside you and help you to create a new normal. Not only for yourself, but for your loved ones as well. And just imagine that for 1 second. Just stop. Take a deep breath right now. And look up. See what you see. Hear what you hear and really feel it. Feel what you feel right now. Feel the happiness bubbling up inside you. Feel the joy as it rises. Feel how you feel knowing you are making a difference in the world for not only yourself but your children as well. Feel the strength. Feel the courage. Feel the pride that you feel right now. This can be and will be your new normal if you allow it to be. You really can have this simply by taking just one step forward and reaching out. simply by saying yes to you and realizing you truly are worth the effort. Your children are worth the effort. Your friends and family are worth the effort. They may not thank you for it today, but they will. When they see you walking around in your new normal, fully healed and totally aligned with where you want to go in life, they'll want that too. And then perhaps you can be the one who reaches your hand out and gives them a hand up. My name is Marnie Homer, and my hand is outstretched for you to take it today. You can reach me at tallpoppiesrising.com. My team and I look forward to walking along with you soon.
Why is it that some of the smartest, most passionate people and some of the best organizations lack confidence in talking about themselves? Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Carr with some brief insights about confidence, specifically confidence in how you talk about yourself, your business, and your value to the people you serve. Now, this isn't just generalized motivation, by the way. In my work, I find that confidence is a function of context. I might be confident in giving a speech, but not so much at, say, dancing on a stage. Just saying. Your growing confidence will come from knowing the best things to say, to whom, and when, and working a plan so that you'll never feel lost or anxious or vulnerable. Now, the good news for you is that most of the roadblocks to great professional conversations are self-imposed. We can recognize them and get around them. This is probably the most immediate opportunity for you to stand out and to grow. As an individual, as a leader in a business, and in support of the causes and communities most important to you. Even in this digital age, and during this global pandemic, the fact is the vast majority of word of mouth happens in conversations, separate from your website or social media. We know that we have something valuable to offer, especially in these anxious times. But how often do our conversational opportunities seem to vaporize? We try to think of the right thing in the moment, and the words or examples or stories just aren't coming to us, and they just aren't quite right. Sometimes, because we lack confidence in what to say, we don't say much at all. This type of pattern can leave us frustrated and regretful. Our potential customers remain confused or disengaged. All are limits to our business's growth. But it doesn't have to be that way. This is not destiny. It is rather a manageable business and professional problem. You can have consistently great customer conversations, as can other colleagues and members of your team, and even your current customers and friends. You can be one of those seemingly few who uses everyday business conversations as an engine to come across as distinct and trustworthy. You can be confident in what you say, the questions you ask, the stories you share. You can be one of those people or teams that seem to have it all together, or at least close enough so that your message is no longer a problem. It is instead a flywheel of growth. A strong, clear message, widely shared, is the fastest and most direct way to grow. You don't necessarily need to change what you offer or its price, or even the people in the business, and you need not be perfect. Now, sure, the details of your specific message will be a little different than anyone else's. But nevertheless, I found through research and experience that there are 3 components you can bring together and then turn yourself into what I call a message manager. None of them require any special expertise or a gregarious personality. So here is my encouragement for managing your message. Let's begin with your message. And by that I mean the actual words and stories and pictures you might want to share with others. Our brains are the most wonderful and complex machine in the world, but they can also sometimes get in the way of a great message. See, our brains reward us for comfort, and it's all too comfortable for us to talk about ourselves. When we do that, our brains signal us, "Nice going!" It literally feels good. But that isn't as effective when we talk about ourselves too much, or we use industry language or lingo, or otherwise fail to connect to whatever problems our audience is dealing with. If you can tame your brain and adjust your message to be more about the problems you solve than about you, then you will generate much more attention and many more opportunities. The second point, some encouragement about you and any other human beings that you want to share your message. For a couple of generations, we have been told, and maybe have assumed, that only a small percentage of people make good messengers. You know, those other people. The ones who are the extroverts, the brilliant conversationalists, the trained communicators. Well, I'm happy to report to you that those assumptions aren't true. Recent research confirms, as one example, that extroverts are no more effective at sales than are introverts when you consider other factors. Even more encouraging is that the people in the middle of the introvert-extrovert scale are actually the most effective. And as is the case with most psychological characteristics, most people are somewhere in the middle. Therefore, chances are you and most of the people around your business are perfectly wired for good business conversations. Don't hold yourself back, and don't look past the inherent capabilities of those around you. And finally, a note about managing yourself and others for this new message. You will need a plan, but you don't need anything complicated or onerous. I have found that a simple set of talking points and stories that are easily accessible is a great first step. You will need to practice out loud until it feels natural. Good listening will, of course, help. Acknowledgement and gratitude that are specific, those will help too. I know, nothing really new here, but it does work. And isn't your business and your passion worth it? Again, there's no need for magic dust. Effective messaging is not the province of just a few supposed wizards. This is about bringing together your message, a group of messengers, not just you, and a few management habits to build consistency. The conversations you need to be having and the things that your customers and prospects need to hear from someone have changed dramatically lately. We are all swimming in a sea of uncertainty and anxiety. Consumers and businesses need help. Couldn't they use your help? Now, they might need help in a different form than before, and they might have different questions or concerns. They might not be sure whom to trust. It is through great conversations that you can learn, you can demonstrate your understanding and your empathy, and build your trustworthiness. If others get clarity from you, and if there is consistency in what they hear about you through different channels and from different people, then you will have earned more of their trust during a time when they really need it. Imagine the impact when you and those around you are confident in a message that is authentic to you, that they believe, and that they can share every day. The not so secret to business growth is usually right in front of us, hiding in plain sight. This is your time. Just imagine how many conversational opportunities will be waiting for you tomorrow. I'm Dr. Jim Carr. You can find practical resources to help at jimcarr.com, and my hope is that your valuable message is shared well and often.